Chapter 54 Monarchy versus Theocracy. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 14 to 20. When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away, neither shall he greatly multiply unto himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in the kingdom, he and his children, in the midst of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 14 to 20. Biblical law is moral law. It sets forth premises to govern a moral man morally. It covers situations and problems which many may find intolerable, but which are still aspects of the human scene. Modern status law is not moral, but ad hoc law, created in the context of a situation or crisis and intended to control it. Ad hoc means literally to this, so that ad hoc law does not concern itself with ultimate truth, although it may in a Christianized culture use such terminology. Ad hoc law seeks to control a situation, and the control is normally expected to advance the power of the state. Biblical law deals with God's order, justice. Ad hoc law seeks to develop the power of the state. Scholars with an ad hoc law mentality cannot understand such laws as this. Since the concern is with monarchy, they cannot believe that it was written within centuries before the Israelite monarchy came into being. Their ad hoc mentality leads them to relate everything in the Bible in terms of a crisis context. Such a view means that history's crises, not God the Lord, determine history. The Bible, therefore, is recorded by them in terms of ad hoc crises, which ostensibly led to the particular law or revelation. Not God, but human experience becomes the ultimate determiner. This disposition is common not only to biblical scholars, but existed among the Israelites, as verse 14 tells us. The land and the law come from God, but the people will still look to other nations for examples and for guidance. Implicit in this is a disregard for God. Implicit in it also is the statement, if God gave them the land, cannot he keep it for them? If God gave the law, he is therefore their king. Can he not best rule over them? The demand for a king was an act of apostasy from God the king, as Samuel told them centuries later. And when ye saw that Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, came against you, ye said unto me, Nay, but a king shall reign over us, when the Lord your God was your king. 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 12. God knew that in time the people would reject a theocracy, rule by God's law, in favor of a rule by a monarchy, by a man and his law, When European monarchs used the Bible to vindicate monarchy, their use of texts was selective, and the Bible in the hands of the people unpopular. The Geneva Bible had many marginal notes on texts unfavorable to monarchs. There is, however, no such note on this text, perhaps because it would have been the first to which monarchists would turn suspiciously. Anticipating Israel's waywardness here as elsewhere, God laid down certain restrictions after stating that monarchy would be a form of apostasy, of rebellion against him. First, they could not choose a foreigner as their king. Since monarchy was a pagan practice, and since it meant supplanting God as king with a mere man, at least they could avoid an alien. Second, the king had to be one of them, a fellow Hebrew, so that there would be some degree of awareness of the covenant. Ignorance of this would lead, as it did when Jezebel took over the initiative from Ahab, to evil such as that godless man did not dare to institute on his own. Then, third, he shall not multiply horses to himself. Verse 16. This is a very interesting requirement because it is in effect a ban on foreign wars. An infantry could effectively defend the homeland, whereas a cavalry was a necessity in the invasion of foreign countries. Horses in that era were primarily military animals. Oxen and asses were used for farming and travel, and in some areas, camels. Fourth, there should be no return to Egypt, in any way. Egypt was the great horse breeding and selling country of antiquity, and it was a seductive idea to establish close ties with a nation so very important in military preparedness. Fifth, the monarch should not multiply wives unto himself. Verse 17. This would wean his heart away, we are told. Our modern tendency is to assume that this was simply sexual. The purpose of royal polygamy in antiquity was to establish international alliances. As recently as the 1930s, I was told by a missionary that if an African chief were not given a wife, or if he rejected a wife from a neighbouring ruler, it was tantamount to a declaration of war. The polygamous intermarriages established alliances. They also served to infiltrate a pagan religion into a country. Sixth, the ruler should not greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. Verse 17. The law banning false weights and measures requires the use of gold and silver. Leviticus chapter 19, verses 35 to 37, Deuteronomy chapter 25, verses 13 to 16. This is not a law against hard money. It is reference to Exodus chapter 30, verses 11 to 16, which limited the civil tax to half a shekel for all males 20 years of age and older. The ruler is forbidden to accumulate wealth because it is not God's purpose that the king be rich, but rather the people. Seventh, the king must have a copy of God's law, and he must study it constantly. It is imperative that he govern by God's law, and to do so, he must master it. He must learn to fear God and not man, to see God's law over himself and all the people. The reasons for this are then given. First, if the ruler does not see God's laws over him, then his heart will be lifted up above the people. He will be proud and arrogant. Verse 20. He will regard himself as a person apart, not as a minister of God's government. Romans chapter 13, verses 1 following. Second, this means that the ruler must not depart from God's law to the right hand nor to the left. He must not be more severe than God's law permits, nor more lax. He must apply it faithfully. Third, only by God's law can a ruler prolong the days of his posterity and himself in peace and prosperity. The expression, to have his heart lifted up, means to act proudly and haughtily, as though he were above his people. The law makes it clear that the ruler is equally under God's law as the people, and even more so. Our Lord tells us, "For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required, and to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more." Luke chapter 12, verse 48. Such an expectation is basic to biblical faith. Arrogance too readily goes with power. The desire in Israel for a monarchy was to increase the nation's efficiency and power. But power decreases efficiency because, as a power accrues to the civil rulers, they govern increasingly in terms of power goals rather than justice. Injustice then prevails, and efforts to remedy it by statist means only aggravate the problem. The arrogance of human power has a long history. Monarchy is a form of human rule. It is rule by man. Whether it be monarchy, a dictatorship, a republic, or a democracy, rule by man is hostile to God's law and rule. It is a monarchy, whether of one, a few, or all the people, and it sees man's will and law against God's. The essential premise of man's rule is, "My will be done," whereas, in a theocracy, man says to God, "Thy will be done."